This is the story of Final Fantasy XIV Shadowbringers, Part 3 of 4. Now, where we left off at the end of Part 2, tensions were escalating between Eulmore and the Crystarium. The Eulmorans had just demanded that the Knights Blessed join them or be dealt with as traitors. Let's get started. In Slitherbough, the Scions are troubled about the poisoned guard and Eulmore's ultimatum, but Y'shtola says she has deciphered the ancient tablets, so she wants to turn their attention to entering Ixmaya and killing the Light Warden. She tells the hero the ruins are at the bottom of a lake, but he can still breathe underwater because of Soroban's blessing. At the lake's shore, Y'shtola tells the hero that he needs to place his palm on certain monuments in a specific order, which she has deciphered from the tablet. Then the hero recovers a sacred medallion, the Seal of Ronka. He brings it to Y'shtola, who is impressed. She says it's time to gather the others and journey to Ixmaya.
Twould seem we have found them.
You trespass upon sacred ground! Begone!
The Guardians of Ixmaya attack fiercely, but after a moment Y'shtola shows the Seal of Ronka and they immediately freeze. After some consideration, they agree to allow the Scions into their village. They simply tell them to follow the azure flowers and then vanish. The heroes find their way to the village and hand over the seal. Once its authenticity is confirmed, the Guardians tell the heroes they've waited for them for 3,000 years. The chieftainess introduces herself as Almet and welcomes them to Fano. A moment later, she explains their history and purpose. They are descendants of the royal guard under the last emperor of Ronka. Their purpose is to carry out his final decree, that the wisdom of Ronka never be forgotten, nor should it fall into the hands of the wicked. And finally, that they should look to the coming of allies so that the knowledge may be passed to them. Ever since the flood, their people and lands are ever shrinking, and now Fano is all that's left. The hero asks about the Light Warden, but none of them know anything about it, so they suggest speaking with other villagers. The hero learns from one villager that her mother once spotted a Sin Eater that was unlike the others near Raktika Falls. Moments later, everyone reconvenes, and Almet says there's an area lost to Sin Eaters near the falls, and perhaps the Light Warden is there. The path there is through a sealed temple called the Katana Ravel. She says to open the seal, they must first restore the flow of magic to the Kmul Astropolis, but they don't know how. The hero and Y'shtola depart, while Thancred and Urianger stay behind to learn what they can from the villagers. The hero and Y'shtola study inscriptions on the pyramids at the Astropolis and determine that one particular owl statue needs to be infused with ether. Suddenly, news arrives that the Eulmorans are attacking Fano. Determined to stop the Light Warden and convinced that's the only reason the Eulmorans have come anyway, the three of them press on to the temple. After overcoming more traps and puzzles, they reach the lowest levels only to find Ranjiit and his soldiers, and a fight ensues.
I think not.
During the chaos, a trap is triggered which causes the floor beneath them to collapse and everyone is stuck on what little rock remains. A Eulmoran reveals that they've poisoned the villagers of Slitherbough and he possesses the antidote.
Eventually someone will come to our rescue. Or yours. Promise us safe passage and we'll give you the antidote.
We do not negotiate with the enemy. The villagers' lives are forfeit, as is yours.
Do not fail.
Thancred, Minfilia, and Urianger barge in, and together they manage to knock Ranjiit into the pit. Then Minfilia asks about Y'shtola. Outside, after the hero has explained everything, Thancred is disappointed that the Guardian Sisters have no idea where that pit leads, but the good news is that the Eulmorans have fled. Since there is nothing they can do for Y'shtola right now, and the villagers have been poisoned, the hero rushes back to Fano with the antidote. The hero learns that Runar rallied the villagers and fought the Eulmorans while the hero was away. Runar awakens and is upset to learn that Y'shtola fell into a pit while recovering the antidote. But as the hero recalls that a gust of wind blew just after she fell, Thancred realizes she must have used the same magic she used under Ul'dah after the Bloody Banquet. Surprisingly, Emet-selch arrives and offers to retrieve her from the lifestream.
Perhaps a clear and unambiguous act of kindness will serve to win the trust you seem so determined to deny me.
After a brief search, emet-selch plucks her essence from the lifestream back into the tangible world.
Ah, there you are.
Master Matoya! Oh, thank the heavens you're alright!
Once she recovers, she thanks emet-selch and everyone returns to Fano. In Fano, during a brief meeting, it's decided that the next step is to explore the Katana Revel in search of the Light Warden. The heroes fight their way through the Katana Revel, and sure enough, at Rektika Falls, they encounter and slay the Light Warden.
The Light Warden is dead. The Blessed's prayers have been answered.
A sea of shimmering stars. Diamonds strewn across a raven gown. Boundless and beautiful.
As the heroes leave the site, they find ancient murals that predate the Ronkan Empire and wonder at their meaning. But emet-selch appears again, and he understands them perfectly, recalling ancient memories with a heavy heart.
A vision shared of a paradise lost, preserved only in song and scripture and paint.
He points to the first mural and says there was once a perfect, prosperous world until one day it was faced with a terrifying crisis. Then he says Zodiark came as their savior, manifest through prayer and sacrifice, but some had their doubts, and from them rose Hydaelyn, whose purpose was to bind Zodiark. Hydaelyn defeated Zodiark in a battle so grand that it sundered reality into many shards and bound him forever. The heroes are taken aback when he says Zodiark and Hydaelyn were primals, albeit the eldest and most powerful. Y'shtola asks how the Ascians are somehow privy to ancient knowledge lost to time, and he says because it is their history.
It was we who summoned Zodiark, we natives of that sundered paradise.
He says the great rejoining will make his world whole again.
Wouldn't you wish for the same?
Later in Fano, Almut thanks the heroes for banishing the light and allowing her people to pass on their legacy. In return, Y'shtola thanks them for sharing their knowledge. Then the heroes return to Slitherbow, where Runar rejoices over the night sky.
In that moment, when the sky's light began to wane, I knew our prayers had been answered. You are the bringers of shadow, the warriors of darkness, the saviors for whom we have prayed for so long.
He wishes to thank the heroes with a feast, but Y'shtola insists there is too much work to be done and they must depart. Before leaving, Y'shtola speaks with the hero briefly, voicing her concerns about him absorbing all this corrupted light and what effect it might have on him. Then everyone returns to the Crystarium and the hero goes to his room for rest. Ardbert visits the hero and voices his concerns after listening to emet-selch refer to Hydaelyn as a primal.
If so, what would that make her blessing? Are we just slaves to her will?
But he brushes this aside and says he takes comfort in cherishing the good moments. Meanwhile in Garlemald, Gaius tells Estinian that a dead general has gone missing, but it doesn't seem that Elidibus is involved. Nearby, a katana-bearing centurion says only his enemy, his friend, can make him whole again. Back at the Crystarium, a commotion wakes the hero. He finds that Lakeland is under attack by sin-eaters, but the Crystarium is unaffected so far. Alice, Alfino, and the hero then proceed to activate the city's defenses. The three of them then go to the field outside the city. Ardbert is tortured when he witnesses the battle firsthand, but cannot lend any aid.
God damn it! Please let this work. Please let this work.
did you spare me? Why? What have I done to deserve this mercy?
During the struggle, the Scions find each other, and eventually the Sin Eaters are driven out of Lakeland. Alisea is saddened as many were lost, then turns her attention to helping the wounded. The hero helps out and tends to various soldiers. He speaks with Lena, who tries to brush off an injury, but shortly after she collapses. She expresses discouragement over all the setbacks they're facing, then Vothri delivers a message from the sky.
The tragedy that has befallen you is of your own making. Divine retribution for your defiance.
He calls the people of Lakeland wicked and refers to himself as their savior before he flies off. Then the hero checks on Thancred and Minfilia. Thancred is injured but recovering. Minfilia blames herself for being weak. The hero helps replenish medical supplies, then a wounded soldier approaches with a story. He says his friend died on the battlefield, but his last words were that he never knew the night sky could be so beautiful. While everyone is discouraged, he reminds the Scions that the work they're doing is good and he believes in them. The hero goes to the Exarch and tells him this story, which lifts his spirits. Shortly after, the Scions join them for a meeting. Emet-selch pops in, but the Exarch just continues speaking. He says a coordinated attack by Sin Eaters is unprecedented, so it must be that somehow Lord Vothri is able to control them. Further, he suspects somehow he's able to do the same to the people of Eulmore. After some discussion of what to do next, Minfilia suggests she goes to Amarang to commune with Source Minfilia at the site where she stopped the flood. Emet-selch says they will merge and only one Minfilia will remain. Thancred, still in love with Source Minfilia, is infuriated by this, but cannot argue for a better plan. The heroes decide to take an alternative route to Naboth Arang to avoid Eulmorans. On the way, they pass through a moored village and speak with some of the locals. They learn that there's an old trolley that could take them to Naboth Arang, except the path is barred by a gate. The gate used to be opened by a Talos, which is basically a golem used for labor, but the Talos has been out of commission for a long time. The heroes leave to seek out miners who may be familiar with the old Talos. At the abandoned mine, they find another dead Talos and the trolley, but no miners. But Thancred notices they have stalkers, who then turn aggressive. After fighting back and subduing them, the hero learns that the stalkers are miners who thought the heroes were here to steal metal scraps. When Minfilia mentions the trolley, however, the miners suddenly become enthusiastic and are eager to help get it running again. They refer the heroes to the real expert, an engineer named Magnus who lives in a village called Twine. The heroes and miners journey to Twine, killing monsters along the way. They find Magnus, surrounded by empty bottles and overcome with despair. He tells the heroes that there's nothing in Naboth Arang, he doesn't want to discuss the trolley, and they should give up because the world doesn't care about whatever they're doing. Outside, everyone splits up to try and figure out what to do next. The hero and Jarek the miner set off to repair some of the tracks and clear them of vulture nests. With the track ready and not much else to do, Jarek takes the hero to the defective Talos. Urianger says he's familiar with arcane constructs and suspects this one only requires a minor repair to be up and running again. He suggests the hero slay the nearby Debitage, as they are creatures of living stone and should have parts they can use. When the hero returns, Urianger is able to repair the Talos' broken pieces, but something is still missing. Jarek the miner says it needs a new heart, but he starts to act strangely and refuses to elaborate, so the heroes seek out the other miner named Thaf.
Magnus's wife was a miner, you know. Greatest prospector there ever was.
Thaf then tells her story, that when the heart of the Talos died, she dug deep into the mines to find materials needed to make a new one. All the veins were tapped dry, so she just kept digging, then the mine collapsed. It took the rest of the team 2 months of clearing rubble to find her body, and Magnus has been broken ever since. Thancred gently approaches Magnus outside, who's lingering over his family's graves.
Being here with them, it beats going home. Home stopped being home when I lost them.
Magnus also lost a son named Skuli. Thancred grieves with him and expresses his losses and regrets, then pleads with Magnus to help so that others might be saved. Magnus appears unmoved. Urianger asks Thaf where they might find a new Talos heart, and he refers them to a nearby mine, but says all the veins were tapped dry long ago. Thancred and the hero enter the mine and find a miner named Guthjon, who agrees to help out after the hero finds a gold piece he lost. He tells them that they can draw out rockworms and slay them, as they occasionally carry valuable stones they've eaten. He gives the hero smoke bombs to place at certain crevices to draw them out. Thancred and the hero bring their haul to Guthjon for inspection. Moments later, Guthjon says he found some fragments they can use, including one with an engraving on it.
Ah, these scratches here. They're a little hard to make out. To my beloved Magnus and Schoolie.
They are amazed to learn that she found a new heart, but that rockworms got away with it before she had the chance to give it to Magnus. The hero takes it straight to Magnus. He is moved by this and agrees to let them use it.
You left me for this? This wretched heap of stone and rubble?
Minfilia runs off and Urianger follows her. She feels useless, like if she disappeared, the heroes would accomplish more without her. Urianger encourages her and tells her that Source Minfilia would want her to find her own path and purpose. Meanwhile in the Crystarium, the Exarch observes their progress and emet-selch approaches. He says he shaped the Allegan Empire which built the Crystal Tower, yet he cannot see how the Exarch was able to summon the hero through time and space. The Exarch just says he's the keeper of the tower and he will not allow the hero's hopes and dreams to be squandered. Back in Twine, Magnus grins at seeing the Talos in action and wishes his wife and son could be there to see it. He says he was a fool to let her dreams die with her, and now he will do everything to ensure this Talos runs smoothly. Then he thanks the hero.
Thou must needs carry on without me.
Urianger stays behind so he can update the others on the hero's progress. Everything goes smoothly and the heroes pass through the gate.
Wait, is that Ranjiit?
Had you only sworn fealty to Lord Vorthry, you'd have no cause to skulk about like frightened animals.
Minfilia stands up, ready to fight, but Thancred jumps in to face Ranjiit. He tells the hero and Minfilia to leave and do what they came to do. Thancred fights long and hard, and eventually Ranjiit retreats. On his last leg, Thancred reflects fondly on Source Minfilia and his memories with her. Meanwhile, Minfilia and the hero approach the site where the flood was halted, and they are struck with a vision of the past.
Run for your lives! It's the flood! The flood!
Source Minfilia is seen alongside the Warriors of Darkness, sacrificing themselves to stop the flood. But when it's Ardbert's turn, she tells him to stand back. He becomes angry and says this is his purpose, but Minfilia tells him his time has not yet come, and he is to give hope to others when all seems lost. Back in the present, Source Minfilia communes with Reflection Minfilia and the hero, and she beams with happiness. Reflection Minfilia asks for help finding the remaining Light Wardens, and further, she says she wants to make a difference and help others. Source Minfilia believes in her, and says the future is in capable hands.
Thank you, Minfilia, for believing in us, for believing in me.
In a flash of light, they are returned to reality in Amarang. Reflection Minfilia wakes up to find herself with red hair, and she's been imbued with the Oracle's powers. She can now feel the light of the planet and sense the location of the nearest Light Warden. Needing a moment to herself, she asks the hero to return to the others and she'll catch up. He does, and finds that Y'shtola and the twins are now present as well, and they helped restore Thancred. Minfilia approaches, and Thancred can see that more than her hair has changed.
You saw her?
I know I haven't exactly been pulling my weight up till now, but that's all going to change, starting today.
She says she can track Light Wardens now, and Thancred expresses gratitude, calling her family. Y'shtola says she needs a new name, since she will no longer live under the shadow of another. Thancred suggests Reen, which means blessing in Fae.
Wait, does this mean thou wert listening when I delivered my lectures on the pixies?
Not exactly, but that one word made an impression.
She likes it and accepts the name, and the Scions welcome Reen as family. Moving forward, she describes the place where she senses the Light Warden, which Y'shtola recognizes as Malika's Well, so they head that way. The heroes enter Malika's Well and fight their way to the end. They find and slay the Light Warden. Back in Twine, Magnus and his miners look over broken pieces of the Talos that Ranjiit destroyed and discuss how to repair it.
What the? Are you seeing this?
At last, night has returned to Amareng. We'll save this broken world yet, Tesleen. You see if we don't.
The Scions acknowledge that only Calusia remains, the land which is home to Lord Vothri.
There the fate of this star shall be decided.
And that concludes Part 3 of Shadowbringers. If you want to see what happens next, check out the story for Shadowbringers Part 4. See you next time.